Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Vetiva Capital and our media partners at Frontier Africa Reports, we welcome you to another edition of the Vetiva Breakfast Meeting. In today's session, we'll be getting the usual rundown of the equities and fixed income market by our traders. We also have joining us today our partners at CGF Boss, and they'll be giving us updates on the BRVM. And then we'll conclude with headlines from across Africa by our media partners at Frontier Africa Reports. Before we go on, we'd like to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded and it may be shared with third parties. It is also being streamed live on our Vetiva online Facebook page if you'd prefer to view or join from that platform. The session is set to last for 30 minutes inclusive of Q&A. And during the course of the session, if you have any questions, you can send them in using the chat function available on Zoom. And if you're joining us from Facebook, you can make use of the comment session. Also, we'll be having a Q&A segment, and if you'd prefer to speak, you can make use of the raise hand function and you'll be called upon to speak. We'll now be starting off with Symbiat, and she'll be giving us updates on some markets across, some equities markets across West Africa. Good morning, Symbiat.
Good morning, Victoria. Good morning, everyone. Like she mentioned, I'll be starting off in Ghana. Monday's session saw the index gain 43 basis points with a year-to-date return of 40.56%. The market saw improvements in activity level, and market breadth was also positive, with MTN Ghana being the only gainer in the session. This is largely on the back of the resilient H1 performance released last week, Friday. We saw revenue and profit after tax growing by almost 25%. And an interim dividend of 3 pesos is set to be paid to its shareholders. Going into today, we should expect market to trade in line with earnings results like we saw yesterday, and see investors showing continued interest in names like Cowbank, Societe Generale, and MTN Ghana. And over in Nigeria, we also saw a positive close to start the week as all share index gained 15 basis points yesterday. We saw a slightly positive market as investors snapped up names like names across sectors. We saw FBN and Zenith in the banking space, Unilever in consumer goods, Julius Berger in the industrial, MTN in telco, all closing the session higher. Despite the positive close, the market saw a sharp decline in activity level due to the absence of cross trades in large cap names like we had on Friday. For sectoral performance, this was mixed as some indices started the week in the red zone. The oil and gas index came out last with a 63 basis point decline, largely on the back of the loss we saw in Ethana. A brief look at last month's performance. The month of July saw mixed market sentiment. We had some days of bullish run, followed closely by investors selling off to take profits. The sector that had the most significant gain was the oil and gas space, specifically price appreciation we saw in Total, Oando, and Adova, resulting in a month-to-date return of 20.4%. Our expectation for today, we expect to see market activity levels stay mixed as investors continue to bargain hunt across sectors. Thank you, and that'll be all from my end.
Thank you very much, Symbiat. Next up, we'll be hearing from Sheikh, and he'll be updating us on the BRVM. Good morning, Sheikh.
Hello, good morning. The regional stock market BRVM continues its ascent this week with a fourth consecutive weekly increase. Buyers have been more perceptive than sellers, allowing the BRVM composite to close last week with plus 56 basis points. The highlight of the week was mainly the detachment of dividends of stocks which took place, such as Nestle Ivory Coast and Filtisac, which recorded rather moderate declines, thanks to the enthusiasm of investors, which can be observed at the level of these stocks. As we could, so the buyers dominated the week with 25 stocks that were up against 17 down. Compared to last week, the volume of trade decreased by 30%. In terms of individual share performance, Sucrevois is in pole position for the best performance of the week, with the stock rising by 15.05%. Maintaining the blur of its future trend for more than a month, the stock entered a nearly vertical bullish channel during this week due to the publication of the financial rating of the company made by Wara. In second position, Total Ivory Coast has shown a rise in its stock price of 11.52%. The action continued to evolve in its current uptrend, driven by the publication of the company's first quarter result, which showed a profit up by 38%. In terms of the lower performers, Nouvelle Edition Ivoirienne is showing a 17.95 decrease. In the phase of correction after beautiful overlap of the title over the period between April 2021 and July 2021, the stock lost over 25.58% of its value. In a similar position, we have Crantiem, which fell by 17.09%. The decline is mainly justified by technical analysis indicator of the titles, such as the RSI, which was in the overheating zone. The company was known to maintain the vagueness of its financial performance because it has not published yet its 2020 annual results. In terms of the bond market, the market closed with a market cap of 6.8 trillion CFA which is representing a decrease of 18 basis points compared to last week. This was mainly due to the partial reimbursement of the Senegal Treasury bond on July 27th. The weekly value traded stood at around 10.23 billion compared to 15 last week, marked by a transaction of Ivory Coast for a total amount of 5.5 billion. In terms of the money market, the main issuers were Ivory Coast and Burkina Faso. They requested in the market a total of 80 billion. The market offered 228 billion, which represents a total overall coverage rate of 285%. The 3-month Ivory Coast Treasury bill on July 27th was the most popular transaction, totaling 50.88 billion, a coverage rate of 169%. That's about it for me for the update for the BRVM.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. We'll now be moving on to Omorige, and he'll be taking us through fixed income and currencies. Good morning, Omorige.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. System liquidity improved marginally yesterday to open around 285 billion positive, coming from the 231 billion positive that was recorded on Friday. As a result of the improvement in system liquidity yesterday, interbank rate declined by an average of 213 basis points, as OBB and overnight rate closed at 5.25% and 5.75% respectively. For our expectation today, we expect our bank rate to trade at slightly lower levels on the back of the OMO repayment of about 19 billion that is coming into the system today. Parallel market gained about 3 naira to trade at 512 naira to $1 yesterday, while the annual window opened at 411.5 naira to $1. The highest trade that was recorded yesterday was 412.15 naira to $1, while the closing rate was 411.5 naira to $1. Brent and WTI both lost 1% yesterday. Sorry, both lost 1% to open today at 72.84 and $71.18 per barrel, respectively, as concerns over slowing demand on the back of the spread of the Delta COVID-19 variant globally weighed on investor sentiment. The T-bills market opened this week on a very calm note, with interest majorly seen on the long-dated maturities, while offers were seen on the short and long tenor papers, especially on the 30th September 2021, 10th March 2022 maturities. Trades were largely consummated on the CBN special NTB, that's the 30th August 2021, and the newly issued one-year paper, that's July 28, 2022 maturity. Overall average benchmark rate remained unchanged at 5.65%. The OMO market also opened the month on a relatively active note, with bullish sentiment seen across the benchmark curve. We observed buying interest on the short and long dated maturities. However, there were just few sellers in the market. Trades were majorly executed on the short and long tenured papers, particularly on the 10th August 2021 and the 17th May 2022 maturities, as average benchmark rate declined by about 56 basis points to close at 7.87% at the end of yesterday's closing trading session. For the bonds market, it opened the month on a relatively muted note, with mixed sentiment seen across the benchmark curve as market participants resumed trading for the new month. We witnessed interest majorly on the short and mid-dated maturities, especially on the 2024, 2027, and the 2035 maturities, while trades were majorly consummated on the short and long-term maturities, largely on the 2025 and the 2049 papers. Overall average benchmark rate increased marginally by 1 basis point to close at 12.56% at the end of yesterday's closing trading session. For the Euro bonds market, it traded on an active note yesterday as we witnessed buy-side pressure across the sovereigns. The most actively traded sovereigns yesterday were the Nigeria 2022, 2031, and the 2047. For the corporate segment, it also traded on a relatively active note, with few sell-side interest seen on EcoBank 2026 and First Bank 2025 Euro bonds. For our expectation today, we believe that the bonds market will continue to trade current sentiment as investors continue to cherry pick attractive offers across the benchmark curve, while we expect the T-bills market to trade in line with system liquidity. That'll be all for fixed income. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Omorige. Next up is Faith from Frontier Africa Reports, and she'll be giving us some headlines from across Africa. Good morning, Faith.
Thank you so much. Good morning, and good morning to everyone. We'll go first here with Ethiopia in the region of East Africa, where biddings for the country's second telecom license is already set to be reopened later this month of August. This will also extend to rights to operate mobile money services in that country. We should note that this right was only available to Ethio Telecoms, which is owned by the Ethiopian government. It maintains a monopoly over the telecommunication services in that country, but now with this second, with the biddings for the second telecom license, they have allowed that others can also do something with the telecommunication service over there. In Kenya, the current account deficit has, which measures a country's trade and financial flows with other nations, widened to about 5.4% in the country's GDP in 12 months to June, from 5.2% in the same period last year, that's 2020. This is an indication of the negative impact of COVID-19 on the country's economy. Away from East Africa, Ghana in West Africa has sought parliamentary approval to borrow as much as $1.65 billion by acquiring and developing assets to accelerate oil and gas exploration in that country after ExxonMobil Corporation pulled out of the offshore prospects country in May this year. And here in Nigeria, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation is set to declare its first dividend to Nigerians as it prepares to release the 2020 financial statements in the third quarter of the year. This was disclosed on Monday by the Group Managing Director, Mede Kyari. Also, MTN Nigeria Communications PLC has appointed 2 new Nigerian executives, Soyinka Sodunke, who happens to be the first Nigerian to function as the Chief Information Officer. That's the CIO of MTN Nigeria. Also, the MTN Nigeria also appointed Sadil Sowo, whose appointment is coming on as the first female Chief Marketing Officer. That's the CMO. After 20 years of MTN's operation in Nigeria, that's there in MTN. In a related development, Ola Williams, Specialist Sales Manager, has been announced as a new country manager for Microsoft Nigeria. Before her appointment, she's been working with the extended team and the company's partner organization to grow cloud revenue across enterprise customers. In the same vein, Eloho Iboni becomes the first female MD of SNEPCO. And at this point, I think I should say that it feels really great that females are now having a good place in the limelight across board. Moving away from Nigeria and West Africa, in North Africa, the Egyptian exchange is set to launch a new index of government bonds today, which will reflect the total return of performance for the listed treasury bonds that make up the index. At Tijari Bank of Tunisia, is recording a net banking income, that's NBI, which is going up by 5.82% to $259,084 million. Sorry, to 259.046 million dinars in the second quarter of the year 2021, or say the first half of the year, while loans and deposits have risen by 4.1% and 7.1% respectively since beginning of the year. In Southern Africa, Johannesburg Stock Exchange will not suspend Sogo Son Gaming for late reports. That is largely because the boss has accepted explanations from the group that they were unable to comply with rules due to the disruptive effects of coronavirus disease. In Zimbabwe, Cassava Smart Tech Limited's mobile money business has posted a 60% rise in transaction values, while the company is set to rebrand to EcoCash Holdings Limited to align the business with its main operating subsidiary, EcoCash Private Limited. Yeah, okay, I think that I'll hold it there, and that will be all from Frontier Africa Reports. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you very much, Faith, for the update. Yeah. We have now come to the Q&A segment. If you have any questions, you can make use of the raise hand function if you prefer to speak, and you'd be allowed to speak, or you can send your questions in using the chat function available on Zoom and the comment section on Facebook. Okay, looks like we do not have any questions for today. But during the course of the day, if you have any questions, you can send us an email at researchgroup@vetiva.com and we'll get to you as soon as possible. We have now come to the end of today's session. On behalf of Vetiva Capital and our media partners at Frontier Africa Reports, we thank you for joining us today, and we hope that you have a productive day ahead. Thank you and good morning.